This week, we're talking to Kevin Strathman, who's Senior Vice President of Finance at Dairy Farmers of America, DFA. Recently, it was announced that he is the connection for DFA with the Sprint Accelerator program for small business development in Kansas City. And we'd like Kevin to tell us a little bit about the program and some of the companies that are intriguing to DFA with this business development activity. Kevin, welcome, and tell us a little bit about the Sprint Accelerator program.
All right, well, thanks, Joel. Good morning. Yeah, a really exciting program, and we're honored to be a part of it. We just wrapped up the second year of sponsoring the Sprint Accelerator and sponsoring ag tech companies the first year, and then this past year, the 90-day period just ended for the program, but we sponsored ag tech as well as dairy food startup companies. So it's been a great program for us. I think, some people ask, why are we doing this, or why do we get involved? And one of the reasons is it's a great way for us to sort of outsource innovation here at DFA. So there's a lot of innovation going on in the startup community related to dairy, whether it's on the tech side, something that can help our farmers, farm better, more profitably, make it simpler for them, all the way to the end user. This year we had a blockchain company, and to be honest, I knew nothing about blockchain or how that could even apply to dairy. So that was a great way to learn about, what's going on in blockchain. You hear about it with Bitcoin. How does that pertain to dairy, specifically with food in general? And so it's been a great way to just learn about these technologies as they emerge on the tech side. Then if you think about the food side, the dairy food side, just a great way to keep our pulse on what products are coming forward. The only caveat we had was the main ingredient needed to be dairy. And we had some really interesting companies come through the program that I'm happy to talk about here in a little bit. The program in general, so Sprint runs the program. They did this for 3 years prior to us coming on board. They realized a couple years ago that sponsoring 10 companies on their own was a challenge. And they were looking for some support from the community, particularly other businesses within Kansas City, to help them with the program. And it just so happened we were in a good spot talking about innovation and what we were going to do next, and we made a connection and jumped on board, and it's been great ever since.
From the list of companies in the news release, as you mentioned, one is the blockchain technology. Maybe you could give us a brief layman's description of that. But there's also a couple of food products, and I expect you met some pretty interesting individuals too, who are full of enthusiasm for their startup businesses. Tell us a little bit about blockchain first, and then maybe talk about a couple of the other companies that really have created some interest at your end.
For sure. So blockchain, really you think about it as a way to verify where the food came from, a sort of an undisputed record that can be shared across multiple businesses, platforms, people, but it really is just a verifiable record of maybe where food came from. And so we actually are I believe we just signed a pilot program, or we're getting close to signing a pilot program with Ripe was the name of the company, ripe.io, and looking at how maybe we can use their technology to sort of tell a story of food around dairy. And so we'd be piloting that in a plant, probably more likely a plant, one of DFA's plants here in the next several months. Plan to learn a lot from that, understand, what's the value proposition of that, but really looking forward to how that can be used in dairy.
Would that pilot project take you all the way back to the dairy farm where the original milk comes from?
Most likely. We're still ironing out some of those details and where does that make the most sense to do it. But yes, that's sort of the hypothesis here is, can we tell you what the cow had for breakfast this morning that produced the milk that's in the jug you're drinking? So that's some of the use case studies that we're exploring.
The couple of the food products look kind of interesting. The Mopo Nutrition from Michigan looks like they are doing some new things with Greek yogurt. And we know that yogurt has been an important part of the the DFA connection with your early commitment to Chobani. maybe there's something about the MoPro product that you can share with us.
Yeah, really a unique take on Greek yogurt, where he's got a real clean label, and he's adding in whey protein isolates to really get a higher protein content with less sugar. His target currently is sort of CrossFit, really health conscious, active individuals that are looking for maybe alternatives to a protein shake or a protein bar. So really a fresh product, not a shelf stable product, but a fresh product as a way to get the protein in their diet. And like I said, an alternative to shakes and the protein bars. And by the way, it actually tastes good. So, I think when we first sampled it, we expected it to be really a bitter, you've tasted it before probably. If you get something that has a lot of protein in it, sometimes it's got a bit of a bitter taste or an off taste, but this is a thick yogurt and it tastes great. So we're really excited to see where he can take that. We're helping him with production and then supplying ingredients for him for his next production run. So pretty excited to see where that takes us.
Well, that sounds great. The health segment is, of course, important to every food company, including us in dairy.
One thing that's exciting about that as well is, he's done some trials in some or some taste testings in certain supermarkets, and he gets moms even coming up, looking at the label, seeing the low sugar content, the high protein, tasting it, and then maybe taking some off the shelf and putting it in and putting back their other yogurt that they had. So he's getting some good customer response as well, outside of sort of that health and fitness arena as well.
That's really interesting. Kevin, any other anecdotes you might share with us, or have you kind of covered the waterfront here?
Well, the other one on the food side I'd mention is Chetty's, which is a cheddar cheese cracker whose main ingredient is cheddar cheese. And again, this is one where you probably have tasted similar products. Maybe it's a dried cheese. It looks like a cracker. This really looks and tastes like a Cheez-It or a cracker, but the main ingredient is cheddar. And they're doing some interesting things with flavors. We're actually helping them formulate some flavors, and they just got into Hy-Vee with their product. So pretty excited about what those guys are up to. It's actually two brothers that run that company, young guys just out of college. One was a architecture grad from K-State, so my alma mater. Pretty excited to work with those guys. But they're doing some interesting things, and we're learning a lot by just partnering with them and understanding what they're doing and what they're up to.
Kevin, as we wrap up here, maybe you could just tell us a little bit about yourself and your work at DFA and your background.
Sure. So I actually grew up on a hog farm a couple hours from Kansas City. My grandpa was a dairy farmer and was a member of DFA or a DFA predecessor co-op. I went to Kansas State. I got an accounting degree. I worked at Deloitte for several years, had a stint in another company here in town, and then actually had interned at DFA. And got the opportunity to come out here and about 10 years ago. And so I helped run internal audits for a while. I was our corporate controller for a while, and now I work on the finance side, managing commercial finance for our commercial businesses.
Sure. Well, Kevin Strathman, thank you very much for speaking with us. This is Joel Hastings with Dairy Business News.